And all right, so we've done some unit tests. Let's do, well, you thought we were done? Let's do some integration tests. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my interactions test.t.sol, move it on up to integration. And additionally, we could and should write a script or a script as a test suite to actually test all this stuff on a real live test net. What kind of test would that be again? That would be a staging test, right? Remember, we start with unit tests, not uint, unit tests. Then we can do our integration tests, which is going to be testing our deploy scripts and various components of our contracts. Then we move to these forked tests, which are going to be our kind of pseudo staging integration tests. And then we have actual staging tests where we run tests on a mainnet/testnet. Like I said, in this course, we're not going to do these, right? But it's really important to consider, hey, should I do a staging test where I actually deploy this to a testnet or a mainnet? Some people even deploy their contracts to Polygon or a really cheap live network to test their contracts in a production environment. In fact, there's some blockchain networks like Polkadot that have an entire staging blockchain called Kusama. It's worth real money, but it's meant purely to stage contracts, which sounds bizarre, I know, but that's the way it is. So we have some fork tests, we have some unit tests, let's write some integration tests, and then we're gonna go ahead and run this deploy script and see this lottery in action on a testnet. And like I said, you do not have to do this if you don't want to, but it is good to see it for yourself. Seeing is sometimes believing, but testnets are sometimes fickle. So if you don't want to have to put in all the effort to get it to work on a testnet, that's okay. But it can definitely ingrain in you it working. And remember, if you are looking for the most up-to-date testnet, come to the Foundry full course, scroll down, and we'll give you the recommended testnet at the top of the repo. Okay, great. Although to be fair, in our unit test, we did do some integration tests because our deploy setup ran all of our deployment scripts already. So maybe what we should have even done was interactions.t.sol, interactions test, and tested all of these contracts first before doing it in our raffle test. Maybe that would have been a better play. Now, we're not going to write a whole lot of staging tests this course. And a part of that is because it can be really difficult to write scripting, to do a lot of waiting and regular and stuff a normal programming language would be a lot better at. Foundry is particularly positioned at being a phenomenal smart contract framework for testing and working with code that's 100% on-chain. Since in our code, we're actually working with a Chainlink VRF and we are working with some off-chain systems as well, Foundry can be a little bit more difficult to work with when simulating a more realistic environment where not just the blockchain is the only thing interacting. So that's why we're skipping a lot of these staging tests, but we do a phenomenal job with our unit tests. For any interactions or integration tests, I'm going to leave this as a to-do for you. Again, if we run our Forge coverage, this is our current output right here. At least for our integrations tests, we should really be testing our deploy script to make sure that our deploy raffle works. So I'm going to leave you with the test of upgrading your test suite so that at least this deploy raffle is all green as well. And then if you want to go super hardo mode, also try to get that interactions test suite up and running.